views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users. On demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments whether you agree with yours truly or not. No retribution. And where you should be subscribing to my Twitter feed, twitter.com/GaryBaumgarten, so you can learn all about the swine flu and other issues that you may or may not read about, hear about, or watch on the mainstream media. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. We thank them for that. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show. Before I introduce the young man to my right, your left, I have to ask Boaz a question. Boaz, guess what they have a shortage of in Cuba, and I will give you a hint, it's not cigars.
You knew I was going to say cigars. What do they have a shortage of in Cuba? I have no idea, because every time I hear Cuba, I associate it with cigars. I think, isn't that all they have there?
Car parts is a good guess, because they love their American clunkers there that they keep running and running. But no, the answer is toilet paper. If you're in a country that allows you to go to Cuba as a tourist, I recommend that one of your bags be, well, what they say is the party newspaper sells for only a penny. So if you're short on toilet paper, I'm not kidding you, this is the honest to God truth, they recommend that you use the newspaper. But I don't know about that ink, whether it's going to rub off in all the wrong places, so you may not want to do that. So I recommend that if you go to, but they have no shortage of doctors, and they have, Michael Moore tells me, he assures me, that they still have universal health care in Cuba, so you can see a doctor at any time. But if he tells you that he needs a specimen, you may have to take your own toilet paper to clean up afterwards. You can't make this stuff up. Okay, a top health advisor to the president says that 50% of Americans will likely contract the swine flu this flu season. 90,000 people will die, he says. The CDC is trying to downplay those figures. They don't have a vaccine. Well, they've got one, but it hasn't been manufactured yet. Probably not until October, or maybe not even until Thanksgiving. Well, the young man to my right, your left, Justin Kamen, Kamen, he is founder of the group Students Prep America, and PrEP is short for preparations, right?
Yes.
And they have suggested that schools delay their opening until there is a swine flu vaccine, because people in close proximity to one another sneeze and cough and spread those germs around. And if you want to avoid tens of thousands of deaths, this is the prudent thing to do. Justin Kamen, welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com. Normally you shake hands, but now are you supposed to do the bump instead so that we don't spread germs to one another?
I think shaking hands is fine as long as you wash them afterwards before you eat or touch your face.
How about washing before?
That's also good.
That's also good, too. We actually have gotten into the habit here of washing our hands quite often. At least I have. So.
I saw you even have hand sanitizer in the lobby downstairs.
Yeah, on the lobby downstairs and on my desk. Yes, always. We've got to be prepared. Although some people say it's not good to be prepared, but we won't get into that because that'll cause us to digress. You had no way of knowing this, but this story crossed the wires while you were on the subway coming here. From the Associated Press, swine flu rises at U.S. colleges as students return. This is like, thank you, AP, for moving the story today. Colleges across the country are seeing spikes in the number of students with suspected cases of swine flu as dorms fill up and classes begin for the fall semester. At Georgia Tech in Hotlanta, classes are in full swing for 20,000 students. So is the highly contagious H1N1 virus. 150 suspected cases in 2 weeks since they moved back onto campus. University of Kansas, 200 students reporting flu-like symptoms. University of Alabama, 50 cases of flu. I also saw today that at a university in the Dallas area, 5 members of the football team have swine flu, and it's run rampant for the past 2 or 3 weeks. Did you know this? At Annapolis at the U.S. Naval Academy.
No.
It's almost as if they're saying, Justin, you're right. But yet, our own Mayor Bloomberg says, no way, we're not going to close the schools. Is he being non-prudent, I guess?
Well, I think the central point is that we don't know what swine flu is going to do this fall. In pandemic planning, non-pharmaceutical interventions, that is, ways that you can mitigate the spread of flu that aren't vaccines or other medication like antivirals, things like social distancing, making sure people aren't close together to spread it because flu spreads if you're 5 to 6 feet away, closing schools so you don't have a lot of kids congregating in tightly packed places. The question is, when do you implement them and how? If the pandemic is very mild, it might be an idea not to implement them because they're very costly. But when you don't know how severe the flu is going to be, and there are some things we do know. We do know that it's going to spread a lot. We know that it's targeting young people. The median age for hospitalizations in this country, if I'm correct, has been 17 years old. The deaths have been a little bit, the age has been higher, but we have a much smaller pool of those. So the issue is for me that we don't know what's going to happen, but it could be bad. In 1918, there was a very severe H1N1 flu pandemic, killed over 600,000 Americans over the course of 2 years. Many of them students, children and young adults. So do I agree with the mayor? No, I do not. I think that school closures have long been advocated as a proactive measure to prevent the spread of pandemic influenza as well as prevent the effects of it on children. And I think that the only way for that to be effective is for it to be done preemptively. We saw some of this in the spring. Then we saw a shift towards waiting till so many kids and teachers were sick that they couldn't run the schools. I think that's the wrong approach. Unfortunately, that looks like the approach they're going to use. In fact, they seem to be going so far as to say, we're going to do whatever we can to make sure the schools stay open no matter how many kids get sick. So yeah, I would disagree with that.
Why is it that one representative of government whose job it is to track and predict the effects of swine flu is saying as many as 90,000 Americans will die, half of us will get the flu, and the CDC is saying, come on, Chicken Little, muzzle it. How are those of us who are just laymen supposed to know who to listen to? They're both being paid to give us the same information.
In my opinion,